The SEGA 32X, one of Sega's add-ons that arguably began the destruction of them as a hardware manufacturer. So we're going to S-video mod it today, and I'm going to take you through the full process. So this is all the little parts that you'll actually need. It's just a switch, a transistor, a resistor, some wire, and a port, and then also some drill bits because we're going to have to drill the hole for the port. So I'm not going to tell you how to dismantle one of these things because you probably already know how. I'm just going to talk about the mod. So here's the transistor that you'll need, and at any point feel free to pause this so you can remember whatever it said. So I'm going to tin the transistor up and then start soldering the appropriate wires to it. So this wire is going to go to the capacitor to the left of the CXA encoder. This resistor is going to go to the Luma jack on the S-video port itself, and then this middle pin is going to go to pin 6 on the video encoder. Now I like to make sure I tin them all up real good and then get a real good connection so it lasts for quite some time. And then I add some shrink wrap to it. This part it's technically optional, but I like to do it to just make sure I increase the longevity. So if you choose to shrink wrap, I like to use 110 degrees Celsius on a hot air gun. I mean, you could use any form of heat, but this is just what I like to do. So that now that we have the heat shrink tubing, we're going to take these all the wires and we're going to cut them to the appropriate length for putting them in on the chip. So we're just going to shorten them all up, and then we're going to strip them, and then we're also going to tin them again. I tin every single everything, no matter what it is, because it makes my life easier and it creates a better connection, which is what you want. You want to make sure you have a solid, good connection. Now, you also don't have to wire you could probably just put the transistor right to the location because it's small, but this is just what I like to do. So here, we're tinning them all up. And then don't forget the orientation of your transistor. Generally, the schematics for them will say with like the flat side down or up. And here you'll see where everything is going. And this R45, we're going to remove this because if you want to put a switch to turn S-video on or off, this is what you'll be doing. I kind of only am doing this for the sake of the video. I didn't use this switch. I just wanted to do it to add it in so you know it's an option. So you have to be very careful as removing it. And that's why you'll see me going in with tweezers a little later on. And I think my head covered the way, but there it is. The R45 resistor removed. You're going to solder a wire to each one of those pads, which is going to go to your switch, and that's what's going to turn it either from composite or S-video. So here, again, tinning it up to add it to one of the ports, or one of the pads. So that's what it'll be. For the switch option, you just do one wire to the bottom, one wire to the top, both pads, and then that will be what goes to your switch. So yeah, solder a wire to each one of those pads like that, and then it'll end up going wiring to your switch later on after you do everything else. So again, we're going to look at all the points to make sure we have everything correct because we're about to add in the transistor. So we're going to tin up the positive side of this capacitor right here next to the CXA chip. This chip we're working on, this is the video encoder. Arguably, the 32X has a more powerful video encoder than the Genesis. This is very similar. So this pin on the transistor is the collector, and now we're going to do the base to pin 6 on the video encoder itself, and then this second wire is that's going directly to the chroma signal, which goes on pin 3 on the video encoder. So make sure you have your transistor orientation right so you don't have to do it backwards. Now we're going to do this. This wire is going to go onto the resistor. That's on the transistor. And then that's going to go to the Luma pin on the S-video jack. And we'll add some shrink wrap to that as well. So nothing's touching. So we're going to drill. So I always start with a pilot drill bit to get a little hole, and then I go to the bigger one. The 1/4 inch drill bit is going to be for the the switch, and then the 1/2" drill bit is going to be for the S-video jack. Now, typically that's what you'll always be using for any switch or any S-video jack, but always measure your jack, and just so you know in case you have a different one, but I've never had to use any other size drill bit. So there you go. You do the pilot drill hole first, and then you do the actual sized one later on. It makes it easier, and it gives you more control of where you're putting the hole. And generally, if you're doing like 3 holes like in a row, what I do is I cover it with a piece of tape and then use a ruler to create my markings of the outline of where I want them to go. And then when you're doing the 1/2" for the S-video port, since it's bigger on a smaller little location, you got to be a little bit more careful with it, doing it a little bit more slowly, because the plastic's going to want to catch on that big drill bit. And then when you do get all the way through, just go in and out a couple times to make it nice and smooth. And you're going to want to wipe everything off on the front and on the back, on the inside, and then I like to take some sandpaper, so that way the jack gets nice and flush up against the back. And sometimes there's these little plastic stabilizers per console. In this case for the 32X there was none, but in other cases there usually are, so I just sand them down. So we're gonna pop the S-video jack in here, and then it has a little nut that you can. There we go. Probably had to just drill in and out a little bit more to get it fit better. So we're gonna get that orientation good. We're gonna start it from the left, because as you tighten it, the jack is gonna turn, and we want it to just be straight, flush, normal, upright. And then because it's working with a difficult area, usually I use like a socket wrench to tighten these, but because of this area, I'm just gonna use some pliers and just do it by hand, switch over to some needle nose, have more control and more grip. And we wanna make that really tight because it can't come loose. So now that that's out of the way, which I like to get done after, I usually do it about halfway through, so that once I finish the complete circuit, I'm just ready. So now I'm cutting these wires down to size. Each one's approximately like 8 inches in length. I'm the kind of person, I always like my wires to be longer, and then I'll go back and short them down later. It's always easier. So right now, what we have to do is we have to ground the ports. So we're gonna ground it to the negative spots on the capacitor, and then also there's the grounding mounts, as you see those little dots to the left. So this one we're gonna ground for Luma, and then we're gonna ground Chroma to the grounding point on the actual board itself. So again, we just wanna make sure our wires are good enough length, which they're a little longer, so that's perfect. We're gonna pair them all up together. So right now we have the Chroma ground is what we're missing, but we're gonna tin everything else up because it's all coming from the same area, and then we're about to do the Chroma right after this. So get them tinned up so they can go to the S-video jack very easily, and then this is gonna be for the Chroma ground. But like I said, tin everything. Makes life so much easier. So this port, or this point on the board, this is where we're grounding the Chroma. This is where we're grounding Chroma too. And right now, tin it up on the board. We have the tinned wire, and it just makes it go really, really easy. So now that that's Chroma's grounded, and we have the whole circuit complete, and this is probably where you would do, so yeah, Chroma ground's on top, Luma ground's on the bottom, because since the Luma's powered, I don't know, I just like to keep them close. And add some shrink wrap to all of it, and those two wires coming off to the left, that's where your switch is gonna go, but like I said, I didn't do the switch for this. So here's don't forget the orientation of the S-video jack. Now if you go back and pause on the little diagram above, that's the front. So when you're soldering it to the back, you have to reverse it. And we're just tinning up the entire S-video jack, and we're gonna solder all the correct wires. So this one right here, this is the Luma on the S-video jack, and that's going to be coming from the one that has the resistor. And then this is the chroma, and this is going to be coming from pin 3 on the board. And then here is the Luma ground, which is coming from the negative side of the capacitor. Oh, and it was sliding on me. It was sliding. But I got it. And then the final one is this is the chroma ground, which is where we grounded it from the grounding plane on the board. This is very similar to the SEGA Genesis S-Video mod, and we got the shrink tube, so we're just gonna shrink wrap this real quick, and you know, just in case anything ever bumps, it won't ever create a short or nothing. So yeah, 110 degrees Celsius, and we're just gonna heat all this up, make it nice. It'll give it, you know, add some stability to the connection. For whatever, I don't know, I just like to do it. You don't have to do it, but I just like to. Preference. So yeah, now that it's done, just close it up. I always like to run the wires behind the cartridge slot because that's how it fits best. And so yeah, if you guys like this, feel free to subscribe. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these because these are really fun to make. Not only just doing the mod, but making the video about it. It's a lot of fun. Also add us on Facebook. Check us out, Retro Gaming Arts. And just thank you for watching. And I hope this helps. Feel free, go back and pause on all the little images because I think that's what really helps. So yeah, we're just going to screw this thing back up and enjoy some 32X and Genesis games in better S-Video. So that was the Sega 32X S-Video mod. I hope you enjoyed. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.